I can love one son, right? But people tell me, how come you don't have a second one? And then I thought about it. I was like, how come no one asked me why I'm not having a second husband? Isn't a husband easier to take care of than a son?
Welcome to The Worst Asian Podcast, where a couple Asian American millennials give you our shitty opinions on all things Asian. My name is Linji, and I'm here today with my soon-to-be ex-co-host, Ben.
Oh, wow. Hello.
Hello.
Hello there.
What you didn't realize was not only are we interviewing someone today, we're also interviewing for your potential replacement.
Oh, damn. Surprise.
The good thing is you've set the bar pretty low. I think one of the few qualifications that I actually need is punctuality.
Yep.
So if any of our listeners out there, if you want to take over Ben's job, all you need to do is just make sure you come on time, and then you're good to go. You're welcome to sit next to me anytime.
But before you do that, give us a like, subscribe, follow.
Today, we have someone joining us on the podcast. She is the creator of the world-famous Subtle Asian Baking, a community with over 200,000 collective followers across all social media. We're talking Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Zanga, MySpace. You can find her anywhere. She is also a doctor of physical therapy. Yes. And this summer, coming up in June, she has a book coming out, Modern Asian Baking. Let's welcome to the pod our favorite baker and friend of the pod, Kat Lieu.
Hi.
How you doing today, Kat?
I'm good. How are you?
We're pretty good. It snowed here yesterday.
First snow of New York.
Have you guys gotten snow where you are?
Yeah, we actually were snowed in for 2 weeks because once it snows in Seattle area, no one can drive.
Oh, wow.
And even if it's just 1 inch of snow, you can't even walk out. We're crippled here.
Oh, geez.
By the way, go Mariners. I don't know if you follow baseball.
Go Yankees.
Oh, there we go. Go Yankees, yo.
Exactly. Did you know that Kat was originally from New York City?
Yeah, what part of New York?
Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
I used to work down there too, right by Park Slope, Brooklyn.
Yeah, very close to there.
Nice. So born and raised in New York, so it's like a New Yorker here.
Yep, that's the one qualification that we have for coming onto the pod. You have to have some affiliation, at least with New York City.
I guess diving into that question, what is your history with New York? I know you're based off in the West Coast now.
Yeah, so prior to 2017, I was actually a full-blown New Yorker. I wasn't born there, but definitely raised there. So I went to school all throughout my school career in Brooklyn. So Brooklyn Tech, Brooklyn College, Mark Twain School, and then worked there almost all of my adult life so far, if you could say that. So I really do miss New York, to be frank, but I do think with a young family and, with where my career is going, being on the West Coast does make more sense.
Wow. Shout out to Brooklyn Tech. Cat's smart.
Kat is smart. For those that don't know, when you're in New York City and you're going from junior high school here to high school, you have those 3 big schools, Stuyvesant, Brooklyn Tech, and
Bronx Science.
Bronx Science.
Yeah, but I couldn't get into Sty, so...
Was that actually your first choice?
Yeah, that's everyone's first choice, I think, back then.
What actually happened that dragged you out there to the West Coast? Were you there in Seattle, Washington area pre-COVID, or was this a post-COVID kind of thing?
It's definitely pre-COVID, 2017. So we were researching the best areas to live. We really wanted to live in Bellevue because it was one of the best cities to live in, a lot of lists online that we looked at. But we were priced out of Bellevue, and the prices just keep skyrocketing. So I think the prices are even higher now than in New York, I think.
New York is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's been fluctuating. We actually tried to sell a condo earlier last year, and we expected a better price, but the price was pretty crappy, unfortunately. So we fell in love with the area. We love seeing the mountains and the clear skies when it's not rainy. It's just such a nice place to have a more relaxed and chill and slow-paced life, and that was what we were looking for.
Yeah, as a father to a little boy myself, I completely get that. Sometimes you just want to be away from the hustle bustle of New York City, and especially with a kid, you need real estate for him to actually roam around. When you're living in a Brooklyn brownstone, or you're in the city in a little high-rise condo, there's literally no space for your kids to actually run around.
Yeah.
Do you miss New York though? Like as a longtime New Yorker, is there like a lot of stuff that being out there on the West Coast, and obviously no offense to West Coast people, it must be a completely different thing.
Yeah, I mean, even though everyone just riles on the subway system, it really is a really incredible subway system, and I miss that. I miss being able to walk out and just going into an Asian bakery or getting a $2 slice of pizza. I mean, here you have to drive everywhere, and like I said, when it snows, you're crippled in your home. And I think if you're someone who likes to explore and walk around and get things very easily and so forth, you'll definitely miss New York. And I think I really miss Koreatown. I used to work there, and like the halal guys and things like that.
Oh yes,
Shout out to halal guys.
They used to just have the carts, but now I think they're actually international. They've got stores I've seen all over the world in different airports and whatnot. So hopefully one day they'll have a halal guy somewhere in Seattle by you.
They might. I haven't looked yet, so they might.
Is there one particular restaurant that you miss here?
I really love 15 East. I really love that restaurant. And then as far as food, definitely the Junior's Cheesecake. So whenever friends or family visit us from New York, they would bring us the cheesecake on the plane. And like I said, that $2 slice of greasy pizza that you can get in New York City, only in New York City.
The pizza here is so good compared to, obviously my opinion is very biased, but whenever I go anywhere else and they try to do pizza, people say it's the water. I don't think it's just the water. I've seen other people try to import New York City water to make their pizza, but it's still never the same though.
Yeah.
I heard the same thing for bagels too.
Yeah, the same thing too, right? All the New York City water that they're doing. Okay, Kat, let's start things off on a lighthearted note. Me and Ben wanted to give you a list of things that we have tried baking as non-professional bakers ourselves, so please be a little bit nice to us.
Okay.
We're going to give you a list of things that we have baked and just want to see what your first impressions of it are. Please be kind to us.
Okay, sounds good.
Right off the bat, Nutella brownies.
Okay. Yeah, not bad.
Yeah, I tried to make it a little fancy. Throw a little Nutella on top of the brownies. That's all it was.
It wasn't inside, it was just like spread on top?
Correct, chef. All I did was just put it on top.
Okay. And was it from a box or did you do anything from scratch?
Shamefully, it's from the box, chef.
Okay. Do you want a rating system out of 5 or out of 10?
We have a tendency to be very, very direct with our opinions. So let's give it, you're impressed or you're not impressed.
Boom.
Semi-impressed.
Ooh. There we go.
Ben barely has a fully functional oven, by the way. So I would say him baking anything is definitely a plus.
Yes.
Okay. I have once tried to make Japanese cheesecake.
Okay.
I would say it's very difficult. The thing that I keep doing wrong is, for whatever reason, when I make the cheesecake, there's like the bottom layer tends to comes out either soggy or I'm not sure how to describe it. It's like
custard, like
exactly.
Yeah.
There's bad tasting custard that layer across the bottom. Yeah. So what I sometimes have to do is I just cut the top layer that's good and I serve that. And I just leave the bottom layer off because you don't see it anyways.
Well, that's completely fine, because as long as the top layer resembles the Japanese cheesecake, that's impressive. Oh. This is one of the hardest desserts or dishes to make, and one of the first things that I tried to make 3 years ago when I was starting baking. So definitely impressed.
Yeah.
What you can do is just try to mix your meringue a little bit better with your final batter, because what happens is all your egg batter is just sinking to the bottom and all your egg white is rising to the top. That's why you have the soft layer on top and your soggy layer on the bottom. So you're just not mixing it well enough when you're pouring it into the pan.
Because my fear was always that, you know how they say if you overmix, then it breaks? Yeah. So I was always trying to purposely not overmix, but I guess I'm doing the complete opposite.
Yeah, just make sure that when you pour it, it's like a really thick milkshake.
Okay.
Like super thick.
How about you, Ben?
I'm up to bat. By the way, I read in an interview before that you were talking about how your mom kept a lot of the pots and pans in her oven and stuff.
Yeah.
I had the same thing with my mom. She'll do the same thing. Just keep as storage at this point.
You just got to get her a bigger house.
That's true.
A bigger kitchen.
Another professional said bigger house, more money solves a lot of your problems.
Just throw more money at it.
Win the lottery.
I'm not as skilled as Lindsay over here or you, chef, but I attempted to make cornbread It was edible.
Okay. From scratch again, or not from scratch?
Chef, you're gonna be surprised, but straight out of a box.
Okay. Well, I haven't made cornbread yet, so that's impressive.
Oh, damn! Thank you, Chef.
I felt like that was a pity impressive.
Hey, that's fine by me. I'm cool with that, man.
You'll take it?
I'll take it.
He keeps calling me chef, so I have to say I'm impressed.
Well, he works in the restaurant industry,
Yeah,
so I
we're-
think he's so used to saying that.
I am. You always got to acknowledge it. You have to. Thank you, Kat.
My next and last one, I made chocolate souffle, the ones in the small little ramekins.
Ooh.
That has to be from scratch, so
Yes.
definitely impressed.
There you
Did
go.
Damn.
it rise and really sink down, or it kept a?
It
good
rose
rise?
above the ramekin,
Nice.
and the top was crusty, and the inside was nice and moist.
Yeah, and no one got sick.
No one got sick. No one got
Okay.
sick. Everyone liked it, and I sprinkled a little chocolate, a little chocolate powder on top, dark chocolate powder.
Wow. Okay, cocoa powder. Yeah.
Chef, sounds impressed.
Very impressed.
Oh, look at
And
that,
you
man.
both did a really good job.
I need to do a better job of taking out my mixer. I bought my wife a KitchenAid mixer years ago, like a large professional series, and she used it for a good couple months, and then afterwards, it's now just a art piece in the kitchen.
Oh, you can use it to store things,
Yeah,
into the bowl.
More
yeah, pretty
storage.
much. Yeah.
More storage. I'm doing like Kat such a huge favor by like not having her actually taste anything I bake for her.
Yeah, thank God.
No, so the last one I have, I'll be surprised if this is impressive for Kat. It's just a Sara Lee cake. Frosting from a can as well.
Okay. So what I'm hearing now is Ben mostly box and he made things
Yes.
an easy way, right?
Yes.
This I have to say semi-impressed because like a 5-year-old can do that. So,
Speaking
but
of,
still semi-impressed because it's Sara Lee. So kudos.
she's like, at least you picked the proper brand and you did it by yourself.
Some bakeries do use the box stuff, right, as like a shortcut for when they're making cakes in mass.
Maybe. I mean, it's not the worst thing to go box. I mean, but then you realize the taste might be a little more artificial or too
Right.
sweet for your liking, and then you realize it's actually really easy to just mix the cake batter yourself. It's just flour, sugar, some baking powder, cornstarch, and so forth.
Obviously, we're not professional bakers. Ben bakes straight out of the supermarket aisle.
Anyone that wants to battle me out of a box, I'll destroy them.
You're like the box dessert champion. But to, I guess, unveil some things, is there a particular dish that you, as a professional baker, have really not gotten the hand of or has had a hard time making, just so that we feel a little bit better?
Well, yeah, like we talked about the Japanese cheesecake. It actually took me many times to troubleshoot it and perfect it. And then macarons are always a challenge. So the French method is always a little finicky. It depends on like humidity and like how you mix the batter. It's called macaronage. And then finally, I really want to try croissants. So I haven't tried that yet. So I'm sure that my first time would be a fail, but I'd like to try that soon.
Croissants are hard though, because I've seen videos on YouTube and it's layers and then it's a butter layer, then it's another dough layer. It's like just layers and layers of everything. It's very time consuming, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now going on to a croissant, is it hard because I know in French pastry you're kind of depending. At my job that I'm working at currently, we kind of do like Asian French pastries for our desserts, and one of the desserts we have is a Paris breast. If I'm not, please chef, enlighten me, but I believe it's like a very traditional French pastry, but the idea of there's no like leavening agent or something like that. Mm-hmm. So you have to rely on like the 4 ingredients, with the egg, water, just to get the right texture, I guess, the flakiness.
Yeah. And then, just laminating the dough, and it takes time, and then a little bit of humidity might mess everything up. But I'm not a French pastry master, but I just know that it's the next frontier for me.
If you make any good ones, please ship them over to New York for us.
Okay.
We'll ship you some $2 pizza.
Or Ben will ship you a couple boxes of Sara Lee.
Yes.
I'll take the pizza.
Okay, fine.
She said that in a heartbeat. She's like, yo, no.
I would miss
White
pizza
elephant.
too if I moved down to New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last 2 years have been generally kind of shitty, I would say, given COVID and everything that's going on in the world. But one of the few positive things to come out of it was that Kat burned her medical degree and she started Subtle Asian Baking.
Congrats.
Like I said, she has 200,000 followers across all of social media right now. Just the photos alone are enough to get you to join the group. Me, obviously, as a non-baker myself, is a part of the group. But for our non-bakers out there, how would you tell them what exactly SAB, Subtle Asian Baking, is?
Okay. So Saab was born in the pandemic, so it's a pandemic baby. I was still working as a doctor of physical therapy at the point when I started the group. It's really a homage to, is it homage or homage? Homage, right?
A ongoing gag of this podcast is Ben and I never bring the facts, but we always think we bring the facts. So we're going to guess it's homage.
Yeah, we'll go.
Okay.
As long as you say whatever you say, we go with it.
There you go.
Homage.
Okay, it's an homage.
Oh my.
50-50, we were wrong.
Yeah, I think it's homage. But anyway, so it's an homage to, the subtle Asian communities, which, 1 in 3 Asian who's on Facebook is a part of a subtle Asian community. And it was all brought along by subtle Asian traits, right? So I thought, we need a group specifically for Asian baking, but it won't be like an exclusive group just for Asians. It's a group that's inclusive and diverse. And we want to, bring to the world the beauty that is Asian baking. Even if you Google Asian baking now, you don't see a lot of it. And when people think of baking, they think of Western baking. So they don't think about all the steamed cakes that we have,
Right.
all the desserts that we have that we enjoy during Lunar New Year, during Mid-Autumn Festival. So I just want that to be out in the world, right? So when people think of British Bake Off and so forth, and they have like Japanese Week, they'll know that there's more desserts than just mochi and like whatever they had shown on Japanese Week and the Great British Bake Off and so forth. So it's really this great community. There's so many bakers out there already, but why not, bring out more, like let's bake the Asian way. Let's use Asian techniques like steaming, frying, and boiling. Let's use Asian ingredients and so forth. And then the group just blew up. At first I thought maybe just 100 of my friends would join, but then, it spread. And then it grew to 100,000 members really quickly. And now up to 141,000 members on Facebook alone. So it's been a really cool ride so far.
Was it a bit of a shock when things actually first took off? Because you just mentioned you thought it was just going to be a small group for you and your friends, maybe just to join. Maybe you'll grab a few other actual random people. But did it really surprise you?
Yeah, when it started growing, like we celebrated a milestone of like 5,000 new members, and then all of a sudden we had 20,000, and my group of moderators were also surprised. They're like, "We're getting overwhelmed. Like we signed on to moderate maybe 1,000 members. Now there's like 50,000." So I think also it was timing. A lot of times luck and timing is involved. And then a lot of people were stuck at home, quarantine and baking and trying to learn how to bake. So a lot of it was from that and how it blew up. Now it's gone a little bit more steady, but our name is out there. And, when people think of Asian baking, they immediately think of our group and our group of bakers and community.
Yeah.
I guess that's one of the good and the bads of doing this and being so popular now. And it's just been a, widely huge success so quickly.
Yeah. It's only been a year. I mean, it'll be 2 years in May. But I still think it's like, very short term so far.
Yeah.
Do you have any other surprises that caught you off guard, maybe that you never anticipated?
Surprises? Well, yeah, the popularity of it. And then the people who actually come on also surprised me. Like we had people from casting agencies come on and want our bakers to join their shows and things like that.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And then just hearing from people that I haven't heard from for years, they're like, "Oh, we're on this group." And I'm like, "Oh, that's great. That's my group." things like that. Yeah. And just how many people are baking the Asian way. That I guess that's the surprising thing too.
That's one of the other good things too. Like you just mentioned, you had friends that hadn't seen you and they popped on and they didn't even realize that it was your group. Because one of the great things that I personally think about Kat's group is that it's not just a showcase for her personal style. She's not plastering her photo on every single post. It's actually a great place where she is constantly sharing recipes from both other large creators and small creators as well as small businesses. And I mean, just on her Instagram alone, I've never seen a person share as many other people's recipes or other people's posts than I've seen Kat do.
Yeah.
So props to you for that.
Yeah, that actually really helps build the community because you're showcasing other people's work. And then, their name gets out there too. And then it's just great. It's giving back. And also we are a group that crowdsources recipes and inspiration and so forth. I think that's one of the first reasons why I wanted to start a baking group in particular too, because I wanted to learn from other people and I wanted people to, keep pushing each other to evolve and get inspired and grow as bakers and as a community.
Yeah, it's always been great. You've grown so much to the point that now this summer coming up, you have your own book called Modern Asian Baking.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that, at least on a personal basis, that's your biggest accomplishment that's happened from all the subtle Asian baking stuff?
I thought a lot about this question, and I have to say it's not. It's a great milestone. It's a great goal to achieve and so forth. But in the end, it's a tangible physical object. What I think is the biggest accomplishment from this group is really just building that community. Like last year when we were able to get bakers from all around the world to host and sponsor bake sales, and then they would take the profits from their bake sales and collectively donate it to our fundraiser, which got over $15,000 to give back to help stop Asian hate and so forth. I think that was one of our biggest achievements as a group. And I think we have to think about it that way, what we achieve, what makes you feel good and what you think is the biggest success. The book is great. The book is one book, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully we get more books. And then even with that book, I feel like I want to give back. So like potential profits and so forth, portions of the proceeds we'll still want to donate back to the community and back to help stop Asian hate and things like that. But, really having the community itself, having all these bakers being so passionate about, Asian baking and giving back to the community, I think that is the most proudest and best accomplishment so forth to come out of the group.
Yeah, that's actually great to hear. For anyone that doesn't know Kat's background, Kat has done a lot, and I mean a lot of stuff in terms of charity. Like she mentioned, she worked with Stop Asian Hate.
Yes.
Was it? It was a company that you partnered up with, and you donated the proceeds to a bakery here in New York City, right?
Yes.
She's done stuff for Black Lives Matters and a bunch of other stuff, which I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But props to her for doing all this. People need to realize that when we support other AAPI creators, we're helping us as a whole. In terms of our book, I will plug your book for you because you seem very hesitant to. You seem very humble about that. Go to modernasianbaking.com, correct?
Yes.
And from there, you can have a direct link to the pre-orders, or you can just go on your Amazon app on your phone, pull it open, type in Modern Asian Baking, and you'll be able to pre-order the book. We actually pre-ordered a couple copies ourselves.
Yes, we did.
Aw, thank you.
Funny story was Ben pre-ordered it for me.
Yeah.
And then I pre-ordered it for him. So when we were talking about the show notes prior to actually doing the recording today, we just found that out.
Yeah. We're having coffee over it. We're like, wait, what?
So what I think we're going to do is Ben's going to keep his copy.
Yes.
I'm going to give my copy to my wife. And then between the two of them, between Ben and my wife, hopefully someone will bake something for me.
Wow.
I mean, it's true though.
I'm going to try to bake something outside of the box. And I figured this would be the perfect way of doing it.
I guess a side question. How did the book actually happen? Were you just approached by a publisher or did you proactively try to, start things up?
This is the best story. I really like it. So what happened was we were featured by Eater on December 2020, I believe.
Wow, congratulations.
And then after that, thank you. After that, I had someone email, and it looked like a spam mail. Because this person just wrote, "Hi, are you working on a book?" And I'm like, "Huh?"
Very generically, that's all they said.
It's funny. I should give you a screenshot of his email, but it turns out to be an acquiring editor from Quarry Books, part of Quarto Group. So they're a really big publisher. And I was like, oh, I've always wanted to work on a book, but I never thought about a cookbook. But the timing was just right. We have so many recipes that we could look at and adapt and get inspired by and fill it up into an Asian baking cookbook, which we just don't have for many years now, right? We don't have a full cookbook on just Asian baking, So this is a very, what is that? A cornerstone book? I'm trying to think of a word for it. Yeah. So it was just that it was a spam mail. I was like, should I answer it? And I did some research. I answered it, and he's like, well, do you have a book proposal? And I'm like, what the heck is that? I don't have a book proposal. So you need to have a book proposal. You pitch it, and the editor, if he believes in your project and your work, then he'll pitch it to his team.
Oh, that's how it works.
And then if the team says, yeah, we'll buy the book, then you get your contract and so forth. And after that, that's when you write the whole book. So it took me around 6 months to write it. And then we just finished the final edits last week. And then we're going to look at it one more time before it gets printed out.
Wow.
Oh, that's a little behind the scenes right there.
Yeah.
Never knew.
Yeah.
Has it been overwhelming, the whole process, going through all this?
I think it was because I was still working, and then my son had to be in remote school. Right. I just wrote during ungodly hours, and then testing the recipes. We had 68 recipes, 23 recipe testers, and then I tested the recipes. Our photographer tested the recipes when she was making them to take pictures of them. I think right now I'm a little burned out from the marketing aspects. I think that's why I didn't talk about it so much in the beginning, because I'm trying to wrap my head around how to market this book. Lunar New Year is coming up and so forth. There's 6 months before the book is released, and I'm still waiting on my publisher. They're going to do some of the marketing too, but right now it's been a lot of it has been on me.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to not always talk about the book and seem like I'm obsessed about it. But yeah, the marketing
I
part.
think you mentioned in one post, maybe it was recently, it's like trying to sell air to someone.
Yeah. It's because you don't have to get all the pre-orders that we already have right now. It's miraculous almost, because you're selling a promise. There's no physical book yet. You don't have it till June, so you're selling this this cover and this promise that someone wrote a book, but you won't get it till June. Can I sell you something like that? I'll make you a cheesecake, pay me $30, I'll give it to you in June. Right?
It's a completely different process of actually baking.
Yeah.
So during this whole process, is there someone you kind of your right-hand man, woman, that a friend of yours that you kind of been relying or going to for advice about all this?
Yeah, you always want a mentor through this process. I feel like we have the community. So I had my recipe testers. I was going through a lot of emails back and forth with them. They would tell me, maybe change up the way you write this recipe this way, or change it up that way, things like that. For an author, though, it's always been a lonely process, because it's a lot of it's from your head
right.
to what you write. But of course, my family's always been here. So my husband and my son and so forth. So just having them not bother me when I'm trying to write, that was really helpful.
Kat's I'm working. I need a brainstorm right now.
Yeah, she's like, "Hun, please take the kid, go to the backyard, play in this snow that we've had here for 2 weeks because the city didn't come in and shovel it away."
Yeah, just play some video games.
Yes.
One final time, I will keep plugging for you because you are very humble about this. It is important, the pre-order numbers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you talk about that humble aspect. I think just being raised Asian, Chinese, Vietnamese household and so forth, we're just told not to be so arrogant and always be proud of yourself and promote yourself. I'm just really trying to do that. Even when someone gives me a compliment, I'll be like, "Oh, thank you, you too." you don't really embrace it, right? Yeah. So I haven't even thought about that. That like now you said you're being reserved and humble about it, and then I realized I was like, yeah, maybe I should be more vocal about promoting myself.
Yeah.
But I do it a lot through TikTok. I think through a social media lens, you have more of a a filter, I think, or you could become this persona that you're not when you're in real life. How Jim Carrey is very different from who he is on screen and
That's
off
a really
screen.
good example. I like that.
Yeah, so but I think it's just ingrained in me. Like even with my parents, like growing up, they would never say like, "Oh yeah, look at her, she got an A plus on this." They'll always be like,
The opposite, right? It's like, oh, where's that A plus plus cat?
Yeah.
yeah, they'll be like, "Why didn't you get into Stuyvesant?"
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah.
It's like, Mom, Dad, I got into Brooklyn Tech. It's part of the top 3. No, it's
no,
not.
not good enough.
It's not good. I think that's what it is.
You gotta be
That's
number
why
one.
Okay. Pre-order the book. It helps
Thank
with a
you.
lot of different things. Kat is not
Yeah.
selling you air here. The book will come out.
Yes, it definitely will. It's a real thing. It's on Amazon.
Yeah, the thing about the pre-orders too, it's because, especially for a person of color and a female author, we're generally underrepresented on the bookshelf, in the
100%.
bookshelves and in the media. So the pre-orders will show like the publishers and the media that, hey, this book has some traction. People will buy it. We should promote her. Versus like if you have no pre-orders, there'll be no promotion and no marketing efforts. It's like it's dead on arrival and so forth. So yes, you're so right, Linji. Like the pre-orders are very important for especially authors of color, your female authors, your LGBTQ authors, and so forth.
That's great. Please support a good woman who's done a lot of good stuff for the community. Like I said, she's done a
Thank
lot
you.
of charitable stuff for all different causes. She's done the most charitable thing of all. She's coming onto this podcast.
Yeah, Kat, thank you so much for taking time out and like being with us on this, by the way.
Yeah, I'm quite a fan of your podcast. I think it's very down to earth and funny, and I love how you guys are very humble. And then how you're telling Ben that he's fired today. It's just the humor.
Oh, thank God. Thank God.
The humor is great. I really like this podcast.
So I'm in the food hospitality industry and stuff. And when Linji told me that we were able to do an interview with you, I was like super nervous. Seeing everything that you've been doing, it's very inspirational. And I read about, there was one interview where I believe you're inspired by your grandmother. And that's where like kind of the love of baking all started from.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you mentioned that you have a son. Is that something that's really important to you? Like passing that down as well?
I think so. I think when he was a little smaller, he really enjoyed baking a lot, but now he's like more into video games. But if I ask him like, what kind of cake would you like me to make, he could like write down a recipe. He'll be like, I want this,
Wow.
this, and this, and he'll draw it out and so forth. I think it's very important to be able to make food because for a lot of people, food is the language of love. So my grandma back then probably never told me that she loved me verbally, but she'd bake a cake for me when I was 4 years old,
100%,
turning 5. Yeah, and it was all from scratch because she was she learned from French techniques from when she went across all these restaurants and bakeries in Hanoi, Vietnam, back in those days a long time ago. And then she learned a lot of those techniques and she passed it down to me whenever I was there with her during the summertime in Montreal, Canada. And then it was so nice to see her make something with her own hands. And then it becomes this beautiful cake and then you eat it and you can feel all of that love, even without her telling you that she loves you. And so I think that's why I like to bake and cook a lot because, sometimes I might not tell my son that, you're my favorite son, you're my only son that I love and so forth. But here's this delicious food that I spent 2 hours in the kitchen to make for you. I just hosted a birthday party for one of my best friends yesterday, and I didn't do like decorations. I didn't do balloons or flowers or things like that. But I made her a full dinner, got her a cake.
That's really sweet.
And I felt like that's how I can show you how much I love you.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's so important to pass it down, like you said, Ben, and to be inspired by people around you. And unfortunately, sadly for my grandma, she hasn't baked or cooked for many years now. She's in her 90s and living alone. And I'm sure she, whenever she can, she thinks about that. And then I know she misses it, just to be able to make food and, present it to someone you love every day.
Right. I think it's really important. We talked about it once, how I think also preserving our heritage and like our culture. Mm-hmm. Cooking has to be like one of the top choices that you can do.
Yeah, it must be.
That's really amazing that what you're doing. And like, hopefully maybe your son one day is like, hey, I'm passing down the torch.
I think he might be more of a box cake guy in the future, though.
Oh, no. Well, if he ever wants any of my secret recipes, I'll gladly share it with him.
Speaking of kids, I have a son of my own. And sometimes when we talk about things like this, about trying to preserve things and trying to pass it on and stuff like that, I'm not sure if you can relate to this, but I hope that when my kid grows up and he's in a world that has much more better representation in terms of people that look like himself.
Right.
Because I think we're in a transitional period right now, especially the last couple of years or so, where we are starting to finally make some traction in terms of seeing people of color on TV, seeing people like ourselves represented in media. But has it been a little bit difficult for you, Kat, to find yourself, I guess, in a world where there's far less representation?
I think so. I think it's always been a little hard. I mean, this road took 13 years in the making, right? So I always wanted to be a writer and an author, but I went into healthcare. And I'm sure you know about this story if you've read up on some of my other interviews. It's that like when I started writing, I wrote rom-coms featuring Asian American females.
I actually read one of them.
You did.
And, okay. Asian, thank you. Embarrassing, but thank you.
We'll talk about that later.
I need a book after too.
So yeah, and then my mentor told me, he's like, Kat, this is great, but these are Asian American characters. This book is definitely not going to sell, So he's telling me to whiten the characters, and I'm like, I can't do that. I wrote things about her, being Asian, her Asian heritage, her Asian background, and then I sort of gave up on that dream and just self-published the books and had like minor successes, sold like 50,000 copies on my own, right, ebooks, and then I thought, I was like, was that a lie that he told me that Asians don't sell and Asians can't be profitable?
That's kind of what he was hinting at.
Right. But then now, like you said, the transitional period started with Crazy Rich Asians, and you have Bling Empire, and then you have like Shang-Chi and Raya and
Squid Games.
Squid Games, yeah. And then Singles Infernal. Now you see that we are profitable. We should be represented in the media. But I still feel that it's been hard. I mean, like even for Subtle Asian Baking, I feel like I have to go and get a lot of the partnerships and brand partnerships. But like when we reach out, then we get our yeses. But then people don't actively come and reach out to us, right? So like I said before, people don't think of baking as Asian baking off the bat, right? They think Western baking, they think French baking, Italian, and so forth, right? So yeah, it's been quite hard, especially for someone who's a person of color, a female. We're already underrepresented. I just feel that we have to work so much harder to break all these glass and bamboo ceilings, but we're getting there.
Right.
I'm not discouraged. We're definitely getting there.
That's good. It's good to stay optimistic about stuff like that. Like you said earlier, sometimes the powers that be, if you present to them something and it's conveniently in front of them, they'll say, hey, maybe this is a good idea. But they never themselves try to proactively go there and like sort out these people of color, right?
Right.
So I think hopefully it gets to a point where it's in the front of their mind that they should be proactively themselves trying to reach out to these creators and trying to put them out there instead of the complete opposite.
Yeah, and it's a bit about respect too. You want to appropriately represent that culture in the media versus, thinking this is Japanese or this is what Chinese should be or this is what Indian should be. Give a little bit respect back to that culture and consult the experts and consult the community and the masses before you put something out there that you call it Asian baking. Like, come to us first, right?
Right, exactly. It's a very fine line that they're trying to walk, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, I think the cynic in me will say that they're doing it for their own profit, of course. Yeah. But that is not inherently a bad thing. I think how they approach it, like what you were saying, Kat, if you're going to do like an Asian bake-off, have some consultants who know what the hell they're talking about, right?
Right.
Let's just not group things together just because that's more convenient for them.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of leads into the next thing that we want to talk about. I think you can agree with me that the internet is a very weird place, especially social media.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to take this whole segment just to vent about social media, but there is a love-hate relationship with the internet, right? Because it's a necessary evil. I know, like you have your book coming out now, and part of it is that you have to self-promote. And what does that mean? That means you have to put yourself out there more. You have to try to like actively push your book a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. And I've seen you on TikTok, especially. You're not the biggest fan of the internet. Is that fair to say?
No. Yeah, you're correct, Linji. I mean, it's the word that I really loaf right now is the algorithm.
Yes.
Because everyone's promoting the algorithm and everyone has a different sort of algorithm. Even YouTube now, they're like, so we have a YouTube channel as well. It's small. It's a personal YouTube channel. And then I just got an email. They said, promote your shorts, put more shorts out there. You got to get on this algorithm. I'm like, what is this algorithm? You don't even tell us what this is.
Yeah, it's like an arbitrary thing. It's like a myth.
Yeah. So, and then, you could spend an hour editing this baking reel or TikTok, and then it gets 40 views, right? And then 2 likes. And then I'll do something on TikTok that takes me 1 minute, and then it blows up.
It's like an instant hit.
Instant hit. I was like, how does this happen? So you try to recreate that. You get this high, this like endorphin, like dopamine, like rush to your head when anything goes viral. Then the next day you try to push out more content and none of it becomes a hit. And then you get depressed. So you get high and then you get depressed and then you get high. And I'm like, I gotta just get off my phone and stop doing. That's why I'm telling you, I'm a little burned out from the whole promotion thing. And I also see that like for people of color, it's actually a little harder. You really have to have this certain look. You have to blonde, blue-eyed, beautiful. You cry and you'll get 3 million views on a TikTok. Yeah, and I could do the same exact thing and then no one will watch it.
Yeah, it makes no sense sometimes. Like you don't know I don't know if it's a supercomputer or an AI or something, but the algorithm makes no sense sometimes.
Yeah, and it's not supposed to.
You try to replicate what you think is successful and you do it and you spend a lot of time on it and you post it out there and it's like, no one is looking at you. Are they not pushing this out to people or did you not press the publish button?
Yeah, we also got shadow banned for like many months on that account. That's why it didn't grow for a long time. Anything that I would put out, like if I put out a reel on Instagram, it could get 30,000 views. The same thing I would push to TikTok would get like 4 views. Or it would be 0 views for like a few days and then it'll be 4. And I was like, what is going on? I thought about just quitting TikTok, but I thought also that it's a really good place to promote the book. So that's why I started it again. But my advice to content creators is that just don't take it that seriously because unless you have like 12 million followers, it's not going to be your 9 to 5. It really can't be your 9 to 5. And it'll just put you into that spiral of happiness and then depression and happiness and depression. And you'll
like
be a content farm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you yourself will be a content farm. And I think that's why I started Subtle Asian Baking too, because I didn't want myself to be the sole content producer. I don't think I could do like 100 recipes and new recipes a week to promote and so forth. And that's why it became this crowdsourced thing. So people don't feel so pressured to always post and promote themselves, right?
Yeah. So true.
Yeah, I really don't think social media is for everyone. Like if you really want to become an influencer and you want to become really successful, like I feel you shouldn't take it so seriously and don't let the algorithm like rule your life or ruin your day. And yeah.
There you go. For our listeners,
please take it easy with social media.
Yeah. It's not that serious. It's not that serious.
No. Get off your phones and go outside and play in the snow and, enjoy a slice of pizza and hug your friends.
Yeah, because it's crazy. I've seen stuff, I think, in like a lot of countries, even here in the US, they've done surveys with young high schoolers talking about what potential future careers there are. And YouTuber / content creator / blah, blah, blah keeps rising up as in kids think it's a viable option for everyone. And if you're doing that for fun, it's one thing. But if you think that's what's going to pay the bills one day, please reconsider.
Yeah, so don't be so obsessed with those social media numbers. Like unless you have like 12 million followers, 3 million followers. Yeah, it's really not worth it. Worth your sanity and your mentality.
100% agree. You got to stay mentally sane by not always staring at your phone.
Self-care is really important, guys. Self-care.
Yeah.
One final question about social media, and I know it's hard. I always joke with other people that you've kind of made it on the internet when you have haters. Because if someone cares enough to hate the content that you're producing, I think you're reaching people. You're like, because you're triggering an emotion in somebody. I think in some ways that does mean that you've made it.
If it can invoke a feeling, then
yeah. So have you had any troubles dealing with some of your haters / doubters, Kat?
I feel like the hardest part is when you have a long-term follower who suddenly turns on you. And that actually happened yesterday after I put out a reel about the Great British Bake Off and how, people passed off Indian and Chinese food as Japanese food. And it's just a statement, it's all about, bringing more awareness out there. I'm not trying to say that I love the show. I think it's great, right? But then you have someone come on and say, get off your soapbox. Why are you an upset Asian talking about this?
Shots fired.
People should bake how they want to bake. And then people are dying out there. You shouldn't be making a reel that makes fun of a show. And I was like, I'm just making a statement so that there's more awareness. But I think whenever you have trolls and haters, the best way is just not to give them more ammo and fire.
Exactly.
And not give them more attention and just block and ban or report them. And then just ignore it, because you're going to have a lot of haters and trolls and so forth. Like you said, as you get bigger and bigger, there will be always people who support and love you. And there will always be people who hate you, especially when you're an Asian. You're expected to be quiet in the media.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because
the model minority.
Docile.
Yeah.
I'm sure if someone else, just a random person that maybe was not a person of color, said that statement, someone wouldn't even think twice at it, right?
No.
But because we are at times expected to conform to a certain way of thinking, when we put out, just general statements, there's no issue putting out your thoughts out there.
Yeah, open dialogue.
Right?
That's healthy.
Put something like that out there, and then someone just starts, jabbing you for it.
Right, like when Michelle Lee talked about eating dumplings on New Year.
Yeah.
And then someone was just very upset and said that that's too Asian, or that's very Asian, like Asians can't have dumplings.
Yeah, that's such a crazy thing to say, just like right off the bat. What's this parameter?
We need to get to a point where we're no longer saying something is either too Asian or not Asian enough, right? Where it's just a normal part of society. Just be children of the same world.
There you go.
There
you
go.
Something very Asian is coming up. Lunar New Year.
Yeah.
I know you're currently doing a collab bake-off contest right now. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so ever since we started Subtle Asian Baking, we do remote and virtual bake-offs, and they're usually open worldwide, so you could just post a picture or a video or a recipe of an entry like a Ningo for Lunar New Year, or like when we did mooncakes, you could do customized mooncakes and enter our bake-off. It's like a baking competition, a baking challenge that anyone can join online. So right now we're partnered with Raw Nice. They do super powder superfoods, and they're all about colorful and healthy foods. And so anyone can bake something that's related to Lunar New Year that they want to share with their family members and friends, and then put up a recipe, the ingredients, and a little story about it, and then they could enter it into our bake-off on Instagram or on Facebook.
We need to step up our baking game.
I think you're pretty good so far. I need to...
Well, first you got to clear the stuff out of your oven, so at least you have space to bake.
Yes.
I'm gonna take my wife's KitchenAid out of the cabinet and dust it off. Maybe I'll try to enter this contest too.
You should. You could win a very cool prizes, and we're doing a trophy for the very first time.
Oh, nice. I love trophies. I love signs that I've won something that I can just place around the house. Is there, for people like Ben and I, is there like a lunar themed recipe or dish that you would say even a non-baker like us could try?
Yeah, definitely just the Ningo that we talked about. You could just throw everything into a blender and then steam it.
Oh.
There you go, Ben. You don't even need your oven. No, I'm serious. I'm
like
looking at you because you don't even need to clear your oven. If you can just steam it on the countertop, then that's points for you already.
All right, you're going to eat it though.
You can eat it first and just let me know how it goes.
We'll eat it together.
If it turns out good, we can ship it across the states to Kat and see if she wants to try eating it.
Sorry, Kat.
Please stop shipping things to me. I have a lot of food.
But you still want the pizza though, right?
I'm good. The pizza's good.
She's gonna be like, again?
The pizza's good.
Fine, we'll ship you over some pizza. That's a promise made by me. We're going to wrap this off with my favorite segment of the podcast, ranting and raving. And today I'm going to invite Kat to join us on today's ranting and raving.
Thank you.
I will start things off by saying that, as we mentioned earlier, Kat is an author, and she was author even prior to Modern Asian Baking. But prior to making this book, she actually wrote a lot of romantic comedies. Is that correct, Kat?
Yes, this is so embarrassing. Which one did you read?
Please do not be embarrassed. It's okay because it's a novella, right? So it's a bit short. It didn't take me that much time, but I chose the one that I thought was a completed series. I read My Cup of Tea.
Okay.
And then I was and this is the ranting part. I was very upset to find out that at the very end, I don't want to spoil this for anyone, but at the very end, I'm left on a cliffhanger. The worst part is I do not see the next book. Where is the next book, Kat?
Oh, it's a cliffhanger.
It's a cliffhanger to nowhere. I'm still hanging.
I'm very embarrassed to say this. So that book was written during maternity leave, which I had like 3 weeks to write, like nonstop. So it's very unpolished because I didn't have a budget to get it edited, and it's all self-publishing, right? And I just never finished it.
Will we maybe in the future?
Will I find out what happens with Sarah and Ian?
No, sorry. I don't even know what happens.
Can you can you write me like a short email and just give me like a list of possibilities at least? Once again, I don't want to spoil it for someone that wants to go read it, but
I want to read it now. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to know what's going on.
It's called My Cup of Tea, Summer Love, Volume 1. Volume 1, but there is no Volume 2.
No.
Volume 2 coming soon?
No. I got a lot of people yelling at me on this one. You'll see the reviews online that the reviews were plummeting because I never finished the book. So I have a lot of haters on that one.
That's amazing. It's like, yo, where's the sequel? We're waiting here.
I'm going to learn how to write books myself. And I'm going to finish off Volume 2. I'm going to send it to Kat. She'll proofread it. She'll publish it under her name. And then we'll be good to go.
Yeah, do that.
Kat, it's amazing. Like, I feel like whatever you do, you make it look so easy, it seems like. It's like, yeah, just write a book.
3 weeks.
Try new types of desserts. Have a community board.
We need to step up our game, bro.
Yeah.
You know what you have to do? Just be a little bored, and then you'll have to find things to fill your time. And I think that's what it is.
Fair enough.
I have a little ADHD, I think. I've never been diagnosed, but I think I have a little bit.
Some WebMD action. Yeah. Before we're talking about like self-care, is there something you like to do besides like baking and writing, just to like keep yourself clear-minded?
Yeah, so I do have a problem. Like Linji, I could write a book and then I could never finish it. That's my problem. I like to start things and then not finish it. So like even when I'm writing my cookbook right now, I went to my publisher and said, hey, when can I start my next cookbook? Because I'm a little bored now. Can I write my next cookbook? And he was like, well, wait till your first cookbook really sells first, and then we can talk. And I'm like, okay. And then I do a little bit of knitting and crocheting and painting. I do a lot of painting. Yes, that I really like.
Oh, nice.
But, yeah, reading is really good. And I'm a little addicted to gaming. So whenever I have free time, I was gonna play a lot of video games.
I peeped the Nintendo Switch in the back, I think.
Yeah, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation.
What's your favorite game at the moment?
Not my favorite game, but something I've been playing for years is Overwatch. Definitely any Final Fantasies I really love.
Overwatch, the first-person shooter?
Yeah, Overwatch.
I was like, wait a minute. Oh, damn.
Yeah, I like Overwatch, and then RPGs I really like, and I'm waiting for the Haunted Chocolatier from Stardew Valley's creator.
Oh wow, you are really a bona fide gamer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to put that into the title as clickbait.
Yeah.
Kat Lieu, great baker, even better gamer.
Casual gamer, not a very good gamer. I'm not good at playing it. I just like playing it.
So I guess, Kat, that means we'll be expecting a Twitch account soon?
I think I'm a little too old for that, so no.
Hey, you never know.
So, Kat, inviting you onto this segment, do you have a rant or a rave that you want to talk about?
I thought about it.
Don't feel any pressure. It's okay.
I can rave about you guys. I really like your podcast, and I didn't pay them any money for promoting my book so much. Like, I think you guys are really great. Like, I really loved the charity fundraiser that you were doing. You raised $1,000.
Yes, we did. We were very surprised.
We had our expectations pretty low.
Yeah, and then you had all those great prizes to raffle off. And like I said, I'm quite a fan. I've listened to some of your podcasts, and I really like your dynamic. You have
Thank you, Kat.
kind of beat each other up, but I could tell that you guys are really great friends.
We are friends, but not really great friends. We have known each other since we were little kids.
Yeah, since like elementary school.
Yeah, so we're stuck as friends, but I wouldn't say really good friends.
Well, when you say that, you know that you are really good friends because you can say that.
I'm sorry, man. Sorry.
So, Ben, do you have anything that you want to rant or rave about this week?
I guess if I can rave about is I can't stress enough, Kat. Thank you so much just for being here and gracing us with your presence with this.
Aw.
Like seriously, I was like nervous all week. Like
Yeah, Ben is surprisingly, you've listened to some of the episodes, but Ben is not a very polished speaker. So he does tend to get very nervous in front of people.
yes,
Thank God he does not get nervous in front of me. But
no.
in case Ben was throwing off some nervous vibes today, that was just him being, I guess.
I'm being a little fanboy right now. That's what it is.
He is, yeah.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited about the book. Like, and yeah, it was just crazy how everything just all fell into place. Kat, like you're like a freaking overachiever. I don't know how you just seem so calm and like collected about everything. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. You know, when you say that, I'm like, I feel like I haven't achieved enough. You know, you look at
Damn, that's
people
the stereotypical Asian mentality right there.
Yo, Kat is gonna be on like the next TED Talk. She's like,
I don't think so. I get stage fright.
really? I feel like you'll be okay. She's gonna be like, oh, I was just bored, so I just did a TED Talk.
Maternity leave. I just did another TED Talk. Why not?
Well, there won't be any more maternity leave, so I'm done. I'm done with one kid.
Yes, that's something you and I can agree with. Sweetie,
true.
to my wife who is listening to this, I'm sorry, but me and Kat on the same page. Kat convinced me today that one kid is enough.
There you go.
Yeah, because if you think about it, right, you only have one spouse, one girlfriend, right, or one husband.
No.
I was like, I can't think about myself. I can love one son, right? But people tell me, how come you don't have a second one? And then I thought about it. I was like, how come no one asked me why I'm not having a second husband? Isn't a husband easier to take care of than a son?
Is this going to be in the next book, by the way? Maybe.
No. No, it's like just one kid is so hard already, right? Just to focus all your attention on him, like, Lynchy. So yeah, no more for me.
I am very glad to wrap up the podcast on my favorite point of the whole podcast. One kid is enough.
It all comes full circle.
Kat, once again, on behalf of Ben, me, and the listeners out there, we are very glad that you came onto the podcast today. We appreciate it. We know it is early for you over there on the on the West Coast. I want to say thank you once again for helping us with the charity. For those that don't know, that's how we actually first made contact. Normally, I don't like doing that because I always feel like I'm being a creeper. Is that the right word?
Yeah, that's what the cool kids are saying now.
But I had known previously that Kat had already done a lot of stuff with charity work. I don't know if her intern, her 5 assistants are going to take a look at this DM or something, but maybe she'll be willing to help because we're trying to do something for a good cause.
Yes, all about the community.
And to my surprise, Kat has no interns. So she was able to respond herself, and that's how we made contact.
Yeah, I did get some creeper vibes. So.
You know what, Kat? I like it. We need her more on this podcast. I like this show.
One final message to the listeners out there. Support a good woman doing good things. Pre-order Modern Asian Baking on your Amazon app or go to modernasianbaking.com. She'll have a link right there. Get yourself a copy. This makes a great gift. You get yourself 2 copies if you want to. You can put one in the living room, put one in your bedroom, and you don't even have to walk around to grab the next copy.
Put one in every room.
That's pro decorating tips from Ben.
There you go. See?
Forget the couch, forget the sofa. You don't even need cutlery anymore. You just get like a bunch of books and you can use that to like smash your food.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, you can do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kat.
For our listeners out there, if they don't know who you are and they want to find you on social media, where can they find you?
Yes, you can follow us on Subtle Asian .baking at Instagram and TikTok, and then you could also look us up on Facebook, Subtle Asian Baking. We have a Facebook group and a Facebook page, and then you could also look at all our recipes on modernasianbaking.com.
Fantastic. We will have links to all that down in the description box.
There you go.
Once again, Kat, we appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We love you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.